Hey everyone, welcome back to Readalong Saturday, and we are still continuing with the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And today we are moving forward to chapter number 4, Awakening. When Siddhartha left the grove where the Buddha, the perfect one, stayed behind, where Govinda stayed behind, then he felt that in his grove his past life also stayed behind and parted from him. He pondered about this sensation, which filled him completely as he was slowly walking along. He pondered deeply, like diving into deep water. He let himself sink down in the ground of the sensation, down to the place where the causes lay, because to identify the causes, it seemed to him, is the very essence of thinking. By this alone, sensations turn into realizations and are not lost, but become entities and start to emit like rays of light what is inside of them. Walking slowly along, Siddhartha reflected. He realized that he was not a youth anymore, but had turned into a man. He realized that one thing had left him. As a snake is left by its old skin, that one thing no longer existed in him, which had accompanied him throughout his youth and used to be part of him. The wish to have teachers, to listen to teachings. He had also let that last teacher who had appeared on his path, even him, the highest, the wisest teacher, the most holy one, Buddha, he had left him, had to part with him, was not able to accept his teachings. Slower he walked along his thoughts and asked himself, but what is it? What have you sought to learn from teachings and from teachers? And what they would have thought you much was still unable to teach you. And he found he was the self, the purpose, and the essence of which I sought to learn. It was the self I wanted to overcome. But I was not able to overcome it. I could only receive it, could only flee from it, hide from it. Truly, nothing in this world has kept my thoughts thus busy as this my own self, this mystery of being alive, of being one and being separated and isolated from all others, of being Siddhartha. And there is nothing in this world I would know less about than myself, about Siddhartha. Having contemplated these thoughts as he walked along, he now stopped as these thoughts could hold of him, and right away another thought sprang forth from them. A new thought, which was that I know nothing about myself, that Siddhartha has remained thus alien and unknown to me, stems from one cause and a single cause. I was afraid of myself, I was fleeing from myself, I searched Atman, I searched Brahman, I was willing to dissect myself and peel off all its layers to find the core of all peels in its unknown interior. The Atman, life, the divine part, the ultimate part, but I have lost myself in the process. Siddhartha opened his eyes and looked around. A smile filled his face, and a feeling of awakening from long dreams flowed through him, from his head down to his toes, and it was not long before he walked again, walked quickly like a man who knows what he got to do. Oh, he thought, taking a deep breath. Now I would not let Siddhartha escape from me again. No longer do I want to begin my thoughts and my life with Atman and with the suffering of the world. I do not want to kill and dissect myself any longer, to find a secret behind the ruins. Neither Yoga Veda shall teach me any more, nor Atharva Veda, nor the ascetics, not any kind of teachings. I want to learn from myself, want to be my student, want to get to know myself, the secret of Siddhartha. He looked around as if he was seeing the world for the first time. Beautiful was the world, colorful was the world, strange, mysterious was the world. Here was blue, here was yellow, here was green, the sky and the river flowed, the forest and the mountains were rigid. All of it was beautiful, all of it was mysterious and magical, and in its midst was he, Siddhartha, the awakening one on the path to himself. All of this, all the yellow blue river forest entered Siddhartha for the first time through the eyes, was no longer a spell of Mara, was no longer the veil of Maya, was no longer pointless and coincidental diversity of mere appearances, despicable to the deep thinking Brahman who scorns diversity, who seeks unity. Blue was blue, river was river, and if only in the blue and the river, in Siddhartha, the singular and the divine lived hidden. So it was still that very divinity way and the purpose to be here, yellow, here, blue, the sky, the forest, and here, Siddhartha. The purpose and the essential properties were not somewhere behind the things, they were in them, in everything. How deaf and stupid have I been? He thought, walking swiftly along. When someone reads a text, wants to discover its meaning, he will not scorn the symbols and letters and call them deceptions, coincidence, and worthless shells. But he will read them. He will study and love them letter by letter. But I wanted to read the book of the world and the book of my own being. I have, for the sake of meaning I had anticipated before I read, scorned the symbols and letters. I called the visible world with deception, called my eyes and my tongue coincidental and worthless forms without substance. No, this is over. I have awakened, I have indeed awakened, and have not been born before this very day. In thinking these thoughts, Siddhartha stopped once again, suddenly, as there was a snake lying on the path in front of him. Because suddenly he had also become aware of this. He, who indeed, like someone who had just woken up, or like a newborn baby, he had to start his life anew and start again at the very beginning. When he had left this very morning from the grove Chetavana, the grove of the Exalted One, already awakening, already on the path towards himself, he had every intention regarded as natural and took for granted that he, after years as an ascetic, would return to his home and his father. But now, only in this moment, when he stopped as if the snake was lying on his path, he also awoke to this realization. But I am no longer the one I was. I am no ascetic anymore. I am not a priest anymore. I am no Brahman anymore. Whatever would I do home at my father's place? Study, make offerings, practice meditation. All this is over. All of this is no longer alongside my path. Motionless, Siddhartha remained standing there, and for the time of one moment and breath, his heart felt cold. He felt a cold in his chest, as a small animal, a bird or a rabbit, would when seeing how alone he was. For many years he had been without home and had felt nothing. Now he felt it. Still, even the deepest meditation, he had been his father's son, had been a Brahman of a high caste, a cleric. Now he was nothing but Siddhartha, the awakened one, nothing else was left. Deeply he inhaled, and for a moment he felt cold and shivered. Nobody was so alone as he was. There was no nobleman who did not belong to the noblemen, no worker that did not belong to the workers and found refuge with them, shared their lives, spoke the language. No Brahman who would not be regarded as a Brahman and lived with them, who would not find his refuge in the caste of the Samanas. And even the most forlorn hermit in the forest was not just one and alone. He was also surrounded by the place he belonged to. He also belonged to a caste in which he was at home. Govinda had become a monk, and 1,000 monks were his brothers, wore the same robe as he, believed in his faith, spoke his language. But he, Siddhartha, where did he belong? With whom would he share his life? Whose language would he speak? Out of this moment, when the world melted away all around him, when he stood alone like a star in the sky, out of this moment of cold despair, Siddhartha emerged more of self than before, more firmly concentrated. He felt this had been the last tremor of the awakening, the last struggle of this birth, and it was not long until he walked again in long strides, started to proceed swiftly and impatiently, heading no longer for home, no longer for his father, no longer back. Okay, so this was it. This was the end of part one for this book, and I will meet you next Saturday with the second part. And until then, keep reading, keep watching, and stay calm.